former Fulton County District Attorney and Sheriff.
Formerly a judge, and he knows a little bit about how these things go.
From Mohawk Valley, legal eagle, lawman.
He is the Sheriff of Fulton County, New York. Just such an amazing guy.
This is the Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for listening to the Rich Giardino Show, where the crime, politics, and the Constitution meet. Tonight's guest is Anthony Constantino. Anthony, we had on as the CEO and president of Sticker Mule. We had Anthony on about a month ago when he had the sign that the city of Amsterdam tried to shut down that said "Vote Trump." The history behind it was Anthony had sent emails to thousands of customers and to his staff saying we got to stop the nonsense. That was after President Trump had been attempted to be assassinated. And Anthony said, look, this has got to stop. We've got to stop the rhetoric, and we've got to concentrate on positive and the issues. And he caught some blowback for that, and he put a sign up. And from there, the city tried to stop him. And at 5:30 p.m. on the night he lit it, the court reneged or withdrew their injunction, and they had the sign lighting with thousands of people. He did two other rallies, including on election night. As a result of that, Anthony has stepped up, and we're going to talk to him about his latest venture, which is where a business entrepreneur crosses over into politics. So welcome, Anthony. How are you tonight?
Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming on with me. So as a result, a lot of people don't know what happened, but as a result of the sign, you went on national TV, Fox News, Newsmax, newspapers. Where else were you?
They had me everywhere. Fox and Friends. I think Fox and Friends was my best appearance by far. But they had me everywhere. But really, I've been on the news ever since a bullet hit President Trump. You said, just want to clarify really. So I sent an email out to 5 million customers, which is a cool number to put out there. So Sticker Mule has about 5 million customers. I created that company. I'm the CEO of that company. We built it up to 1,200 people, 5 million customers all over the world, all over the United States of America, which is great because if voters want to get a sense for my talent and ability, all they have to do is buy from Sticker Mule or talk to someone that bought from Sticker Mule, and they get a sense for my commitment to treating people right and doing things very effectively. So we built a massive company called Sticker Mule. I sent an email out to our 5 million customers shortly after President Trump got shot. I just said, look, I've had enough of the nonsense, enough of the nasty rhetoric. I said there's a big problem with hatred towards Trump supporters. The reason that problem existed was because, as you know, most Trump supporters were scared to admit they like him. So the people on the left, I say they were suffering too because they thought Trump supporters were these horrible people, but they never even knew who we were because they'd go out to dinner with us and they'd hang out with us and they'd like us or love us, and they wouldn't know we even supported them. So I said, we got to start admitting we like them to fix the problem, help unify the country, and help deliver President Trump. I said, the only way the problem is really going to go away is if President Trump wins and he gets a landslide, and then he has to do a good job too. So he ended up doing that. He won a landslide re-election. I did everything I could to try to help him and to try to unify the nation. I think we're a lot more unified than we have been for 8 years. It's probably the most unified we've been in the last 16 years. I don't know. Maybe in my lifetime. I don't know when we've been so unified. I don't recall a moment in American history when we've been so unified. President Trump won a landslide re-election. Next thing I know, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, who is a great person, very smart person. I actually went to high school with her, as did a number of my executives at Sticker Mule. So we all like her and we're very happy for her. But next thing we know, she ends up going to the United Nations, which we all think was a great decision on behalf of President Trump. He's putting together an incredible cabinet, including her. And my phone starts ringing and people say to me, you should go for the seat. You should run for Congress. And of course, at the time, I had no political ambitions. I wasn't planning on running for anything. I just wanted to help President Trump win re-election. But a guy named Roger Stone, who I'm a big fan of, I had become friends with, or I'd gotten to know during the last few months for all my efforts. He covered me twice. He had me on his radio show and he had me on his podcast. And after President Trump won, he invited me down to Fort Lauderdale to celebrate and with him and a few other people that worked really hard to help elect President Trump. He just wanted to do sort of a nice thing for people he knew had worked hard for President Trump. So he invited us out to dinner. Everybody likes to meet Roger. He's a really interesting guy. During dinner, I said to him, Roger, Elise Stephanik's going to the UN and people are calling me, telling me to go for her seat. What do you think? And he said, Anthony, I think it's an incredible idea. I think you'd be a great candidate. And if you do it, you'll have my total support. So we finished dinner and he says goodbye to everybody except me. He grabs me, says, Anthony, come on over to my house. And next thing I know, it's 2 a.m. and I'm talking to Roger Stone and he's inviting me to crash on his couch. He said all his beds are taken, all his bedrooms are taken. But he said, I got a couch for you, Anthony, if you want it. I went and grabbed my own hotel room. So I didn't sleep on Roger Stone's couch, but he told me that night, he said, Anthony, I would support you. I'll do everything I can to help get you elected if you want to go for this. And I thought about it. I talked to some people. And if you know about me, I'm a principled person. I base my life on principles. I run my company based on principles. One of my principles is time is finite and you have to use your time in the most impactful way you can use it. And I decided this is the best, most impactful use of my time. And another thing I've been fighting for, really, you know, I've wanted for the last 8 years is to see talented people in government. That's why I supported President Trump. He's not a traditional politician, but he's a very intelligent person. He's a very talented person. We want more talented people in government. We see people like Elon stepping up, getting involved, trying to help the government go in a positive direction. And lots of other very smart, talented people are joining government. I said, well, look, I like to use my time in the most impactful way, and running for Congress would probably be the best way. I also want the most talented people in government that we can have. And I think for this particular role, I'm probably the most talented person available for the job, and it's the best use of my time. So I told Roger I'm going to do it, and he's been backing me very effectively ever since. And so I hit the ground running, started meeting county chairs. It's a special election. I need to be nominated by the county chairs. I've been meeting them. That's been going great so far. I met a lot of them already. I'm going to be meeting more after the holidays, and I'm really excited about the situation.
And it's important to note that you didn't do the sign to get in politics, like you said. I mean, knowing you as I know you, you've always supported the person, not the party. And when I say that, you didn't care if they were Republican or Democrat. If you thought they were the best person for the job, you did that. And you supported a friend of yours who was a Democrat running for a position, acted more like a Republican. But for you, it's really been about who's going to be better for the community, for the state, and for the people. And I think that's important because people lose that, you know. And I've heard you speak. I listened to you at the rally, the one rally I spoke at with you. And I think people don't understand that it's like, for you surround yourself with excellent people, and that's a sign of a good leader. I mean, you can afford to run for Congress, not only financially, but you can afford to run for Congress because your business is going to succeed because you set people in place who share your goals and objectives and who are no nonsense and they know what to do. And to me, that's a sign of a very good leader, that you surround yourself with those people. Tell us a little bit, though, people don't know. So tell us about the side of you they don't know. Like, tell us a little bit about the boxing stuff. And is it extreme martial arts or is it boxing? What the heck do you do?
Yeah, sure. I can tell you a little bit about me, but you know, you mentioned so first of all, I don't like labels. I would like to say this. Maybe I'm gonna get myself in trouble right now, but I don't care a lot about labels. In fact, I never even gave myself the CEO label. I just said, you know, I'm here. I run the company. It's my company. I don't like titles. I don't like labels. I just judge people on the basis of people. A lot of Democrats work for me. A lot of Republicans work for me too. Everybody gets along. We all do great. But I will say this, you know, I don't care about labels, but I think there is something deeply wrong with the Democrat Party, the party itself, not the voters. But I think there's something deeply wrong with the party. I don't support the party at all anymore. They tried to cancel me. From what I've seen, their platform is just pure hatred. They tell their voters to go out and hate people that don't vote for them. That was their platform for the last 8 years. They say, if you support President Trump, then they tell you you have to hate people. And they say, if you support President Trump, you just have to be hated and despised. Hillary Clinton used the word deplorable. Joe Biden ran the Fine People hoax. And so I've lost total respect for the Democrat Party. If they come around and they change their platform, I'll gain respect for them again. So I like the Democrat voters. A lot of them work for me. I respect Democrat voters. I hope Democrat voters start asking for change within their party. I don't respect the party at all. They ran a platform I hate. When I came out and nicely said I supported President Trump, they wrote me tens of thousands of hate mails. They told me to kill myself. They told me they wanted to destroy my company. So I talk to people, including Republicans. They say I support. Sometimes there's even Republicans in my area. They say I support Democrats. I think they're good people. I say I'll support Democrat politicians when they go on record calling for an end to the hate, just like I called for an end to hate. But thus far, you know, my experience with Democrats is they support the hatred. They want people, their platform, Nancy Pelosi, AOC, all these people, they tell their voters to hate citizens. They say separate from your families. They don't treat the families with respect during Thanksgiving, during Christmas. If they support President Trump, they encourage hatred of Trump voters, and that needs to stop. So I think the Democrat Party, they really need to step up to the plate. They just lost in a big way. They need to step up to the plate, in my opinion, and they need to start telling their voters that what they did for the last 8 years was wrong, that Trump voters deserve respect, that President Trump deserves respect, that we need to negotiate policy, and the Democrat Party needs to go out and find policy positions that matter to voters and stop telling people to hate other people. I totally disavow myself of the Democrat Party. I think that party is deeply troubled, and something needs to change there, or else it doesn't really deserve a place in America.
Yeah, I have a lot of Democrat, independent, conservative friends, but as a whole, the party, like you said, they're so angry. And it's like I got conversations with friends over the last 6 months. Well, how can you be a prosecutor and a former judge and support Trump? How can you like it's like something's wrong with you if you support Trump, but nothing's wrong with you if you supported Biden. And
what
then
they're doing is,
yeah,
it's mental abuse of their voters. So I think, I still got love and respect for Democrat voters. Lots of them work for me. I have 1,200 people. There's no political. I don't look at the politics of people that work for me. I just want the most talented people possible. That's how anyone becomes successful. You just look for talent. So I got talented people on both sides of the aisle. I got total respect for the voters, but there's something deeply wrong with the party. I saw somebody posted a poll the other day. They were polling Democrats and Republicans saying, what's your level of tolerance for people that think differently? And Republicans are extremely tolerant. They have no issue working with Democrats, buying from Democrat-owned companies, supporting people. That they have no issue with it, just like you're speaking right now. But they pulled the Democrat Party, they pulled Democrat voters, and that party has trained people to have total intolerance for anyone that does not support their platform, their ideology, and that's wrong. The Democrat Party needs to step up. I think Hochul and all these people, Kamala, whoever, I don't even know who the leader of the party is anymore. They don't have good leadership. AOC, maybe. If I'm in Congress, I think I'm going to make her look really foolish because she runs her mouth as a Latina, and I speak better Spanish than she does, and I have a better connection, I think, to the Latin American community than she does too. I lived 6 years in Mexico, and she's been spewing a lot of hate. I think these people better speak up very quickly and tell their voters that they're no longer running on a platform of hate, that they need to start respecting people, because there's a poll right now that says Democrat voters have extreme intolerance towards anyone that thinks differently, and the Democrat politicians need to be the ones to fix that. Republicans, I'm trying to speak up and fix it. Republicans can't be the one to fix the problem that the Democrats created. The Democrats poisoned the minds of their voters. That needs to be fixed.
Yeah, when they tell people, well, if you're a Democrat and you don't vote for President Biden, or you didn't vote for Vice President Harris, if you're African American, something's wrong if you don't vote for Kamala Harris, and they just label people. It's terrible. And the one thing I will say that it's amazing, and I was going to post it today, and then I got carried away with work. We had a very bad incident we've been investigating. But one thing I noticed is he's appointed a gay man to the highest post a gay person's ever been in. He's appointed blacks. He's appointed Latinos. He's appointed women, more women than other administrations. But he doesn't start with, I'm appointing a black man today. I'm appointing a gay man. He starts with, I'm appointing so-and-so who's the most competent person. And he doesn't put identity politics into it. And to me, that's what it's supposed to be about. The most qualified person you think for the job, regardless of their race, regardless of their religion, regardless of their politics, and frankly, regardless of their identity. And I mean, I think people are missing that, because every time there was an appointment under the last administration, it was, we're appointing an African American, we're appointing a gay man, we're appointing this and that. And it's so off-putting, because you detract from the person you're appointing when you label them as something other than an intelligent person who's good for this job. And when you start with their identity rather than their competence, you diminish that person and you diminish your abilities to appoint people. What I want to ask you, I got to take a quick break, because if you got 5 million and you want to get the 50 people who listen to me, I've got to do some of my ads. So listen, you're listening to Rich Giardino Show, where crime, politics, and the Constitution meet. I ask you to like, share, subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, X, Spotify, Rumble, and any other premium podcast platform. We're with Anthony Constantino. He owns Sticker Mule. He brought it up from the ground, and it's a multi-million-dollar business. He's got over 37 countries represented in his workforce, and he's got offices in 37 countries, and he's got over 1,000 people in Montgomery County. But when you talk to your employees, when you talk to people you meet, when people send you emails or reach out to you as a result of your stance, what are some of the real concerns of real Americans who contact you, or the people who reach out and look to you to like lead them as a congressional candidate and hopefully as their congressman? And what do they tell you? Like, what's most important to them?
I mean, I think people agree with me thus far. I've been telling people I like to solve big problems. The way I run my companies, I find problems and I fix them. You got to find the biggest problems and fix the biggest problems. The biggest problem in New York State is that people are leaving, and we got to get people coming back to New York State. I had somebody send me a message on the internet the other day, and they said, I left New York State, but thanks to you, I'm strongly considering coming back. I actually did an event at my gym today. I own the community gym. It was going to die during COVID. And I bought the community gym and maintained it for the people. And somebody came to the gym today and they said, Anthony, thanks to you, I'm staying in New York. I was thinking of me and my wife were thinking of moving and relocating, but you gave us hope. You gave us hope that things can get better here. We want to stay here and support you. So the number one problem in New York State is people are leaving. We got to get that to stop. We got to get people to start coming back again. You know, better than anybody, one thing people really care a lot about is safety. People want to live where they're safe, but they also want to live where the fun is, where the action is. You know, they want to live where it's exciting and where it's fun, where there's action and where things are going on and other great people are living. So we got to make New York a magnet for great people, for talented people to come and live and have fun and enjoy their lives again. We got to get the state safe again. There's horrible situations with crime in the state. It's gotten completely out of control. I spent a little bit of time in my life. It was a great experience. I lived for a few years in New York City, and I had a great time in New York City. I lived there. I called it during the golden era. It was before COVID, before all this craziness. You could be out 5 a.m, having a great time with your friends, 4 a.m, totally safe, no issue at all. I go there now. You see drug dealers all over the place. Everything closes early. And my friends, even, you know, I got some very tough friends. They don't even want to be out late at night. Nobody wants to be out late at night anymore. It's gotten very dangerous there. There's crime all over the place. And I know the southern border really well because I lived in Mexico, and that's a terrible situation. But the situation in the northern border that we're suffering from here in New York State is worse. You know, through the southern border are coming because people want to escape poverty. And in many cases, you know, they come thinking they're going to get a better life. Sometimes they do. Sometimes it's better for them to stay in their home country in many cases. I know a lot of these people. But in the northern border, it's even worse. People are not coming through Canada to escape poverty. People aren't hopping on airplanes from Europe and flying to Canada and then illegally crossing the border to escape poverty. They're coming for not so good reasons. One of those reasons is called drugs. It's called the drug trade. And they come through Canada. They come here to sell drugs and do not so good things. And so people want safety. They also want fun, action, excitement. I'm trying to do that part. And then hopefully in Congress, I'll be able to work on safety as well and get New York State safe again.
You know, I tell people all the time, whether I was a DA, when I was a judge, and now, if you're not safe or don't feel safe, all your other constitutional rights really don't matter, because you can't exercise your other freedoms if you're scared to exercise them. You want your kids to be safe in school. You want your parents to be safe going to the store. You want to be safe in your home. And so much of the prosecutions we see, like Mr. Penny being prosecuted, the Marine down on the subway who stepped up, they're prosecuting him. And it's always, they'll spend the time, energy, and motivation to try to make it unfair to the people who want to save other people around him and do what's right. I mean, as a lawyer and a judge, he's got a perfect case for self-defense. He was doing what he should have done, and we don't reward that currently. But I agree with you. Safety's big. One of the things that I want to ask you again, when you looked at running for this position, there's a lot of veterans and things, and you know veterans and you know people, and what are some of the things you would say if I said, well, look, I like Elise Stefanik, you know, she's for the veterans and law enforcement. Are you gonna change, or are you gonna model yourself? When I say change, I mean, are there other issues, or are you gonna follow the good work she's been doing for the last 10 years?
Yes, big shoes to fill, as we know. Elise is one of the most respected people in the entire country. So, you know, it's not just any congressional race. I'm trying to fill the shoes of one of the most respected people in the entire country. And I want to follow through on all of her good ideas. We're going to be talking to people. We want to solve other problems too, but we want to follow through on all her good ideas. She had a great idea putting the missile defense system at Fort Drum. We want to get that done, but I'm going to try to retain as much of her staff as I can. In the event I get the nomination, I want to follow through on all of her good ideas. She's a very smart person. She's a great person. She's done great things for New York, great things for the country. And yeah, it's big shoes to fill. She's one of the most respected people in the entire country. She's not just a congresswoman. She's the most respected one.
Yeah. And having gone through what you went through with the sign and some hate mail, a lot of hate mail and haters, you don't have to do this. People need to understand, you've got a business that's extremely successful. You employ over 1,000 people. You don't worry when when your next check's coming from. You don't have to put yourself through this. There's going to be attacks on you personally. There's going to be detractors. So in a way, in a complimentary way, you're kind of like Trump. You don't really need to do this, and the fact that you're willing to do this shows me a lot that you're going above and beyond. What you have to do. You're not a career politician, unlike some of us. Unlike some of us you're talking to on this end, you're not a career politician. So you're not driven by what's my next election, what's my next race. You're driven by you want to make this country great again. And you want to make New York a place that fosters business. As a businessman, what are some of the hurdles that you found with the regulations and things in New York that you've been trying to get over? Like where were some of the stumbling things, whether it was COVID and how they handled it? Tell the listeners what you found to be regulations you would change in a minute if you could.
Well, first of all, I want to say, I got to know you pretty well the last few months, and I think you're one of the people too that's driven by doing the right thing for the country 100%. I know, you're a person of integrity. You're 100%, in my view, driven by doing what's right for the country, doing what's right, right for the people. And I'm a pretty good judge of character. And so I'm trying to do the same thing too. In terms of regulations, we want to get, we want to get rid of all census regulations, as many census regulations as possible. There's a lot of crazy ones here. There's a lot of crazy ones all over the country. I think President Trump's going to do great work getting rid of regulations. I want to support him as much as I can. I'm my own person, but at the same time, one thing I don't like is when people get into Congress and they they get combative, or they try to beat their chest and show they're smarter than the president. I think President Trump's the smartest person by far in the United States of America. He's the best decision maker by far. I want to support all of his initiatives across the board. I'm going to be totally supportive of him. I think people should always be subordinate to the leader. I expect my subordinates to listen to me, and I'm going to listen to him and support him across the board as best I can. As far as New York State goes, yeah, we got to look at all the regulations here and see what ones do or don't make sense. But there's far too many. One of the ones I liked the least, I tell people, as a business owner, I can live within any regulatory structure as long as it's a fair regulatory structure. We want rules applied consistently. But one thing New York State did under Hochul and Cuomo and many of these other Democrats is they applied the regulations inconsistently. They shut some businesses down. They let others stay open. They shut mine down, maybe because I'm right leaning, and they let other people stay open. And so we have a big problem in New York State with unequal application of the law, whether it's regulations or just that guy you talked about in New York City. He stood up and did the right thing. And probably because he's viewed as a right-leaning person, even though he didn't say it, it seems obvious to me he's probably a right-leaning person. They throw the book at him. But if you're a left-leaning person, nothing happens to you. So a big issue in New York State is the unequal application of law, whether it's regulations targeting small businesses. I think the Democrats were terrible. I think what they did for the last 4 years is they realized they could target Republican small business. Most small business owners are Republican, and they realized that they could take advantage of COVID to target Republican businesses and scare them out of the state. And they effectively did that. Hundreds of thousands of people left, maybe 1 million people left, I'm told, because they scared them out of the state. And I think they were in the governor's mansion. I think Cuomo and Hochul and Letitia James, I think they were all popping champagne and celebrating. They were looking at the numbers. These aren't entirely stupid people. They can look at the data. Every time they saw another 100,000 Republicans leave New York State, they were celebrating, saying, wow, it just got easier for us to win re-election. Another 100,000, opposition voters left. And they kept saying, wow, another 100,000, another 100,000. They watched them all go. I think they were all celebrating. Wow, this is going to be wonderful for us. What they didn't count on was their policies were going to be so bad that lots of Democrats were going to start voting Republican. So we had even though almost 1 million Republicans probably left New York State, we had an 11-point improvement in the vote for President Trump, because even the Democrat voters, like I said, I have tremendous respect for Democrat voters. The Democrat politicians are the big problem. They're terrible. But the Democrat voters are waking up and they're saying, we don't want this anymore either. So yeah, we need regulations to get reduced in general. I'm not a fan of regulations. I'm a fan of freedom. I think a lot of times it's a trade-off between, do you want control and absolute, that you put regulation in place to protect you against everything. I spent a lot of time living in Mexico where there's a lot less rules and in some ways a lot more fun. So I like less rules, more fun in general. That's a general principle for me. But yeah, we got too many regulations in New York State. But worse than that, we got unequal application of the law, and regulations are applied unequally. They target small business owners that they know are Republicans, and they leave Democrats alone.
Before we wrap up, I got to tell you a story as a judge. As a judge, I was assigned to a case that originated in Hageman, where this guy owned a tire shredding business, and they would shred tires and they would use them for roadways, and they would use them for other things. And there was a state law that you could only have up to 1,000 tires on the property. And he had more than 1,000. They kept writing them up, and they sued to shut him down. So the attorneys for the Attorney General's office representing NCON are in front of me having a hearing. The attorney for the guy says, Your Honor, I got to bring something to your attention. He said, NCON has a contract with this tire shredder, and they're bringing all the tires off the thruway to his business. I turned to the lawyer. I said, you're shutting this guy down. Does he really have a contract with you? She talks to the people at her table. She goes, well, Your Honor, there's a contract with NCON for him to take scrap tires, but you've written him up for having too many tires, and you have a contract. She goes, well, we're the enforcement regulatory unit of it. That's the boots on the ground. So I said, so you don't coordinate? I mean, what? And this is how ridiculous New York state law. I tried to find any way I could around it to say they don't have clean hands. How can they be dumping tires on the guy and then suing to shut him down at the same time? They're violating their own rules. So the case law was against, and he was a businessman. He had clients, and he had a lot of employees, and the state moved to shut him down. And the rules, the way the law was written, as a lawyer and as a judge at the time, I have to follow the Constitution and the rules. Unless it's unconstitutional, I have to follow the rules whether I like them or not. But it was so disturbing because it shows you the hypocrisy of the state. As I wrap up, I want to say this. You and I have spent a lot of time together, and the one thing that I like about you, and I see, being so much older than you, an old man, I see it in you with me. People come up to us everywhere we go, and they're talking to us, and we're open to them. You have attained a point in your life where, few businessmen are as successful as you, but you don't snub people. People don't know. Like at the gym, kids can come to your gym for free. They get good grades. They can come into. People don't know. And I know you don't brag about that stuff, but that shows a lot about character. So you didn't forget the community you grew up in, and those little things. But more important to me, you're not arrogant about the way you carry yourself. People may be afraid to approach you or I, but we are very approachable. And to me, that's a sign that shows you didn't forget your roots and you appreciate the people that we deal with. So I wish you the best of luck in seeking the congressional seat. You got a lot of work ahead of you, and it's going to come pretty quick. And so, maybe the next time we have you on, you'll be the congressman-elect, and it would be a nice conversation we have with each other. I do really want to thank you again for being on. And Anthony, is there anything that I didn't cover that anything last quick thoughts you want people to know that maybe Giardino forgot something because he's old and forgot?
No, I think that's great. Really quick, just to touch on some of the things we ended with, I'll just say really quick, they call us lawmakers, right? I'm not one yet, but they say lawmakers. I always said, even since I was a little kid, I was like, we're always making laws. When are we ever getting rid of the bad ones? People are always making new laws, new rules. And that's the problem with regulations. They're always making new laws, new rules. Nobody's ever getting rid of the bad ones. So maybe we need a new position in the government. We need law deleters. We got lawmakers. We need law deleters too. Somebody, I think Elon wants to do that with DOGE, the Department of Governmental Efficiency. We're making all these laws all the time, and somebody needs to go through and say, what should, maybe we made some bad ones. Maybe we made some bad regulations. But I appreciate you noticing what you noticed about me. I tell people this is interesting. I say, look, I separate very effectively work and social life, and everybody's got a different job. Everybody's got a different role. You know, you're a sheriff, I'm a CEO. Everybody's got a different role in life, but your social life and your work life are two totally different things. So, you know, some people, don't matter what your job is, you know, some people got great social lives and, you know, their roles are totally different than mine. But, you know, I want to have a great social life in addition to a great work life. I want to enjoy my life, and that means enjoying people. So I get along with all types of people. I like hanging out with people. I like having fun. And many of my best friends are, you know, factory floor, frontline people. I like hanging out who I like hanging out with, and work's work and life is life. And if I get this job, it's just a job for me. And you know, it's a job. You know, everybody's got, I think, should view the world that way. Sometimes people, they get important jobs and they separate themselves from other people, but you got to have fun. You got to enjoy life, and enjoying life means hanging out with people.
Yeah. So I'll tell you one thing, and I claim that this is my original motto or slogan I came up with. I used to tell the clients that appeared in front of me in court that I would give probation or a break to. I said, listen, take advantage of the opportunities that people give you. Don't take advantage of the people who give you opportunities. And the ones who took advantage of the opportunities I gave them would be back in front of me and they go to jail or prison. And the ones who took advantage of the opportunities I gave them would succeed. And again, it's been great having Anthony Constantino, who's thrown his hat in the ring for the Congressional District, soon to be vacated by Elise Stefanik, who's an excellent congresswoman who's going up to be the UN ambassador. Thanks again. During the week, folks, if you see a police officer, EMS, fire, emergency services, tell them they're doing a good job and support them. Continue to back the blue. There's nothing to be embarrassed about that, and speak up. Good luck, Anthony, and we'll look forward to seeing you on our next program in the future, when I hope I'm congratulating you on the new position, hopefully. All right.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Like and subscribe to The Rich Giardino Show, part of the Elite Influencer Network, wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll see you next time on The Rich Giardino Show, where the Constitution, crime, and politics meet.